Good day everyone, I'm Desiree S. Remitar and I will be the first presenter for Group 6. And today we will learn about the atmosphere of the Earth. Let's proceed. The atmosphere. First, we need to look is the atmosphere itself. So, the structure of the atmosphere. The silly monkey talks. The represents troposphere. Silly represents stratosphere. Monkey represents mesosphere. And talks represents thermosphere. And this is the 4 major layers of Earth. And let's go to the characteristics and functions of each layers. First, we have troposphere, which is the first layer of the Earth. Lowest and thinnest layer. It is 16 kilometers at equator, 8 kilometers at poles. 90% of the atmosphere's mass. Temperature decreases with altitude of 6 degrees Celsius per kilometer. At the top of troposphere, averages negative 50 degrees Celsius. This means that the higher you go, the cooler becomes in the troposphere. And it is where weather occurs. Most of the weather, like clouds, rainfalls, occurs or happens within the troposphere. And the boundary between the troposphere and the stratosphere called tropopause. Then let's move to the stratosphere, the second layer of the Earth. It extends from 10 kilometers to 50 kilometers above the ground. It is less dense or less water vapor. Temperature increases with altitude. And this means that the higher you go, mas muinit pa jud siya, and this is because the stratosphere contains ozone layer, which absorbs the ultraviolet radiation from the sun, and there is no or almost no weather occurrence, and it contains high level of ozone layer. And the upper boundary is called stratopause. And now, let's proceed to the third layer of the Earth. But first, you should take note of these temperatures. In troposphere, the higher you go, the cooler becomes. In stratosphere, the higher you go, mas muinit pa jud siya. And in mesosphere, the higher you go, the cooler becomes. And in thermosphere, the higher you go, the hotter becomes. Now, let's proceed to the mesosphere, which is the third layer of the Earth. It extends to almost 80 kilometers high. Here, as you can see in the diagram. So this layer, mesosphere, we have meteorites. So, gases are less dense. Temperature decreases as altitude increases. So, the higher you go, the cooler becomes because the temperature decreases as altitude increases. So, gases in this layer absorb a very little ultraviolet radiation. So, in mesosphere, this is where the meteor showers burn. And now, let's proceed to the fourth major layer of the Earth, which is the thermosphere. Above the mesosphere and extends to almost 600 kilometers high. The temperature increases with altitude. So, this means that the higher you go, the hotter becomes in thermosphere. So, readily absorbs solar radiation, and the temperature can go as high as 1,500 degrees Celsius and reflects radio waves. And that's the 4 major layers of Earth. And now, let's proceed to the composition of the atmosphere. Let's learn about the composition of the atmosphere. And bak curious tayo, And we can questions like, what is the atmosphere made of? What are those things that if you get the atmospheric and separate them into those individual components? And here's the answer. The atmosphere is made up of gases. Majorly, nitrogen accounts for 78% of the atmosphere, oxygen accounts for 21%, and argon accounts for 0.9%. All gases are like account for 0.02 to 0.03%, and we have things like carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, methane, and ozone are trace gases that account for about 1% of the atmosphere. And that is the composition of the atmosphere. If you look at the pie chart, everyone, we should know that it made up of 78% nitrogen, 21% of oxygen, and 0.9% of argon, and 0.02% or 0.03% carbon dioxide or trace gases of 0.1%. Now, let's look at the ozone layer, and this will found within the stratosphere or the second layer of Earth, which I discussed a while ago. So, you see in the illustration, everyone, that is why it is called stratospheric ozone or ozone layer, because ang ozone layer ay nasa stratosphere or the second layer of the Earth. And we have surface level ozone layer, or which is majorly referred to as smog, and which we will look at later as atmospheric hazard. Now, in the stratospheric ozone layer, ang mangyayari ay the ozone layer or ozone shield is a region of Earth's stratosphere na mag-absorb siya most of the sun's ultraviolet radiation. It contains high concentration of ozone or O3 in relation to other parts of the atmosphere, although still small in relation to other gases in the stratosphere. Now guys, if you look at the illustration, we have ultraviolet radiation from the sun. So this is the sun, and this is the ultraviolet radiation, and we have the ultraviolet radiation A, B, and C. Now, as they pass through the atmosphere and get to stratospheric ozone, ang mangyayari ay, nakikita mo na, look at the illustration, everyone, ultraviolet radiation C is totally absorbed. Kita nyo, walang nakapas dito na ultraviolet C. Ultraviolet was absorbed, but a little was able to pass through, and same thing to ultraviolet radiation A, though more passed through but it was still absorbed. So, it helps to reduce this ultraviolet radiation that reaches the smog. Next, let's look at the natural greenhouse effect. Natural greenhouse effect. Take note please before we proceed. There is a difference between natural greenhouse effect and the enhanced greenhouse effect. Enhanced greenhouse effect is an atmospheric hazard, but the natural greenhouse effect occurs naturally that helps to protect us from infrared radiation. Look, they have to protect us from ultraviolet radiation. And also, tutulong ito para ma-keep ang air temperature warm para sa human survival. Now, a process that helps keep the Earth's surface and atmosphere warm. First, the Earth receives incoming short-wave radiation from the Sun. Half of this radiation is absorbed by the Earth's surface. Around 20% is absorbed by the atmosphere, and around 30% is reflected by clouds and the Earth's surface back into space. As the Earth's surface warms, outgoing long-wave radiation or infrared radiation is emitted back into the atmosphere. Greenhouse gases absorb some of this radiation and deflect it back to the Earth's surface. Examples of greenhouse effect. We need to know this because it comes out a lot. Now it includes natural, water vapor, carbon dioxide, ozone, methane, and nitrous oxides. Artificial, chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs. Second, the more concentration of the greenhouse gases, the more effectively they return back to Earth, which is not always that important because it is more. Ibig sabihin yan, ang Earth temperature ay tataas palalo. Therefore, maglilid to siya sa global warming and climate change. We will look at that. That is not the effect of enhanced greenhouse effect. So, looking at the illustration is shown right here. So, this is the sun. This is the sun. And this is the solar radiation reflect. Out of the total solar radiation from the sun, you see, bago siya ma-reach sa Earth's surface, solar radiation is reflected by the Earth's atmosphere. Bago pa siya dating dito sa Earth's surface, magre-reflect siya papunta sa atmosphere. Back, and most of the radiation is absorbed by the Earth's surface and warms it. So, mostly sa radiation ay na-absorb ng Earth's surface para mainit niya. Para sa atin na tama lang sa ating katawan. Now, some of the infrared radiation passes through the atmosphere. Some is absorbed and re-emitted or ibabalik niya, patapon pabalik in all direction by greenhouse gas molecules. The effect of this is to warm the Earth's surface and the lower atmosphere. So, infrared radiation is emitted by the Earth's surface. Right na yan. Kita nyo? Ang infrared radiation ay tinatapon siya papunta sa Earth's surface. So, at night, when the Earth releases this infrared radiation, which is along with the radiation is emitted, now it absorbed within the atmosphere by greenhouse gases and ibabalik niya sa Earth's surface para makip ang Earth's surface warm. Now, let's take note of the importance of the atmosphere. Provides the necessary gases for living things to survive, regulates the heat from the sun to just the right temperature for life on Earth, and plays an important role in water cycle. The ozone layer protects the Earth from the sun's harmful ultraviolet rays and protects the Earth from small meteors. And that is the atmosphere of the Earth.
Impacts of atmospheric pollution. So first is the sources of air pollution. Pollution enters the Earth's atmosphere in many different ways. Most air pollution is created by people, taking the form of emissions from factories, cars, planes, or aerosol cans. Secondhand cigarette smoke is also considered air pollution. These man-made sources of air pollution are called anthropogenic sources. So there are some types of air pollution such as smoke from wildfires or ash from volcanoes occur naturally. So these are called natural sources. So air pollution is most common in large cities where emissions from many different sources are concentrated. So sometimes ang mountains or tall buildings prevent air pollution from spreading out. This air pollution often appears as a cloud making the air murky. So it called smog. So the word smog comes from combining the words smoke and fog. Next is indoor pollution. So air pollution is usually thought of as smoke from large factories or exhaust from vehicles, but there are many types of indoor air pollution as well. Heating a house by burning substances such as kerosene, wood, and coal can contaminate the air inside the house. Ash and smoke make breathing difficult and they can stick to walls, food, and clothing. Next is effects on Newman. So short-term effects, which are temporary, include illnesses such as pneumonia or bronchitis. They also include discomfort such as irritation to the nose, throat, eyes, or skin. Air pollution can also cause headaches, dizziness, and nausea. The long-term effects of air pollution can last for years, for an entire lifetime. They can even lead to a person's death. Long-term health effects from air pollution include heart disease, lung cancer, and respiratory diseases such as emphysema. Air pollution can also cause long-term damage to people's nerves, brains, kidneys, liver, and other organs. So us people, we react differently to different types of air pollution. Young children and older adults whose immune systems tend to be weaker are often more sensitive to pollution. So conditions such as asthma, heart disease, and lung disease can be made worse by exposure to air pollution. The length of exposure and amount and type of pollutants are also factors. Effects on the environment. So like people, animals, and plants, entire ecosystem can suffer effects from air pollution. Haze, like smog, is a visible type of air pollution that obscures shapes and colors. Hazy air pollution can even muffle sounds. Air pollution particles eventually fall back to Earth. Air pollution can directly contaminate the surface of bodies of water and soil. This can kill crops or reduce their yield. It can kill young trees and other plants. So there was we called sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide particles in the air. So it can create acid rain when they mix with water and oxygen in the atmosphere. So these air pollutants come mostly from coal-fired power plants and motor vehicles. So when acid rains fall to earth, it damages plants by changing soil composition. It degrades water quality in rivers, lakes, and streams, and damages crops, and can cause buildings and monuments to decay. Like humans, animals can suffer health effects from exposure to air pollution. There can be also birth defects, diseases, and lower reproductive rates have been all attributed to air pollution.
Global warming. Global warming is an environmental phenomenon caused by natural and anthropogenic air pollution. It refers to rising air and ocean temperatures around the world. This temperature rise is at least partially caused by increase in the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Greenhouse gases trap heat energy in the Earth's atmosphere. Usually, more of Earth's heat escapes into space. So, the term global warming refers to the long-term warming on the Earth's surface that has been observed since the pre-industrial period between 1850 and 1900 as a result of human activities, primarily the burning of fossil fuels, which raise atmospheric levels of heat-trapping greenhouse gases. The term climate change cannot be used interchangeable with this one. Common effects and causes about the global warming. As I've said earlier, it's the fossil fuels, but I want to give just another example. Just like cutting down trees, burning fossil fuels, and etc. causes the earth temperature to rise. The weather patterns are altered by high temperatures, with dry areas becoming drier and wetter. As a result, disasters like flood and droughts become more frequent.
Good day everyone, I am Vivian Rosel, and for today's video, I am assigned to discuss the managing atmosphere pollution. So to manage atmosphere pollution, we have air pollution management. So we make choices every day that we can help to reduce air pollution. So below are the few ideas that we can take to help clean our air. So at home, we can conserve energy. So we can conserve energy by turning off our appliances and lights when we leave the room. We can also recycle paper, plastic glass bottles, cardboards, and aluminum cans. So buy green electricity produced by low or even zero pollution facilities. Connect your outdoor lights to a timer or use solar lighting. Wash clothes with warm or cold water instead of hot. If you are a person who smoke, choose not to smoke in your home, especially if you have children. So we can also buy smart. To buy smart, we can buy Energy Star products, including energy efficient lighting and appliances. Choose efficient low polluting models of vehicle since they are environmentally friendly products. Choose product that has less packaging and reusable. Shop with canvas bag instead of using paper and plastic bags. Buy rechargeable batteries for devices used frequently. So let's proceed to DriveWise. Plan your trips, save gasolines, and reduce air pollution. Keep tires properly inflated and aligned. So avoid waiting in long drive-through lines. For example, at fast food restaurants or banks, park your car and go in. When possible, use public transportation, walk or ride a bike. Use an energy conserving EC grade motor oil. Report smoking vehicle to your local air agency. Why do we need to control atmospheric pollution? Reducing pollutants in the air is important for human health and the environment. That's why we need to reduce air pollution. So, poor air quality has harmful effects on human health, particularly the respiratory and cardiovascular systems. Pollutants can also damage plants and buildings, and smoke or haze can reduce visibility. That's why we really need to um, reduce atmospheric pollution. So, this is the end of my part. So, thank you and God bless everyone.